Press received Tuesday, January 6th at 1:33 p.m.
Paula, I heard it. Oh my God, I heard the thing from Total Penetration. It is freaking off the hook. I can't believe what they did to it. It is fucking awesome. Okay, check you later. Bye.
To hear this message again, press 1. To save it, press 2. To erase it, press 3. Message erased.
There always seems to be, because since I think the Kennedy assassination, the people are less and less trusting of the government. And whether there is a conspiracy or not, that's not my, I'm not begging that question. I was fascinated by the fact that within the conspiracy movement of 9/11, there are differences of opinion that are very, very vocal and very, very adversarial.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was very interested in the dynamics of the conspiracy theory, not in the actual conspiracy itself.
Right.
You understand the no planers and the plane huggers and everybody else, psyops and stuff like that.
No. I think
that's what fascinated me.
No, and I think that is the most fascinating thing. Because now that I'm getting interested in cancer cures, I'm finding that the mechanics are the same, and who isn't really dreadfully afraid of that? So how long can you avoid these realities? You can avoid the Kennedy assassination, you can avoid the moon landing, you can avoid 9/11, but what about at the end, how are people figuring they're going to exit this body? And then when they're in the body, how do you really maximize what this body is all about? So you should also have fun. There should be joy.
I found out talking to you, the thing that fascinates me about you is, as I said in my article, and here's the other fascinating thing. Well, in my article, I said in my article that was supposed to appear in the school newspaper. What I like about Paula Gloria, she takes her causes seriously, but she doesn't take herself seriously.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. You know how to have fun. And
I know how to what?
You're a serious person, but you're not pretentious, if you understand what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, how can you be after you go through so much grief, like what you're just describing? How do you say it again? The radio announcer at the school.
The radio station manager. He basically has I'm overemphasizing it. I'm making it sound, he's basically the dictator of the station.
Yeah, I know. But
and the question, and here's the other fascinating thing, and I'm going to question the kids at the paper about this. This is more an academic thing for me. I doubt very much if I'm going to take it any farther, because my wife has a pension. I don't want to start too many ways. Is when I went up there and told them that the Paula Gloria interview was canceled, and you got to pull the article because there is going to be no interview. I didn't get anybody in the entire office saying, "What do you mean they won't let it go on?"
You mean they didn't care?
Right. Oh, they cared that you go on because it sounded like a fascinating topic, and they were more than willing to print the article. But the question is,
yes.
That's why I'm very interested to see what happens with the radio show, with the paper. If he starts censoring the people on the paper, if these kids, who are kids who should be more idealistic than I am, have the ability to realize that somebody is telling them what to do and what to say.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So I would prefer.
I'm just
asking a yes or no question, and I think you hit it on. That's why I think you're a very practical person. Is to say, is this really worth the fight?
Yeah.
Especially if I'm the only one that's going to be fighting it.
Are you?
If the paper decides, that's okay, he can tell us what to do, or okay, we won't do the show, I'm going to be like Don Quixote fighting windmills. I'll be the lone voice in the wilderness.
But you don't want to be a lone voice in the wilderness, do you?
No, because that makes me way too vulnerable. I mean, I'm a practical person. You know that I'm a practical person.
But you know, the heck with being vulnerable. Who cares? Who needs one more victim?
You're absolutely right.
You know what?
I was asking to ask them at MNN just a simple yes or no question. Is this can a man control the content? So if it ever comes to an issue, I would at least have an answer to say yes or no. I would prefer the kids fought the fight because it really is their fight. I'm a senior citizen taking 3 credits just because a term just because I got nothing to do. You understand? I'm retired. I'm looking for. That's why I got a radio show.
Yeah, but Joe.
Don't make me get rid of my co-host.
But Joe, don't you understand? In a society that's successful and effective, that society respects people with more experience. So providing.
You're talking about a civil service situation.
But that's.
You're not talking like in business.
No, but
it's either get produced or die.
But that.
You're talking about a situation is when's my next coffee break? How many sick days I got? And have I accrued enough vacation?
But that's what I'm saying. How can this civilization survive with that mentality? My good friend Buck Lou, who I made all the money with in cellular, he had a very simple formula. He said, when you've got more people working to support the government, or no, that there's more people in the government than the taxpayers that are supporting it, it's a sick society.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not only a question of that. I'll give you. My wife comes from a private sector background, and now she's one of the registrars. She would love, if possible, to fire 90% of the people that work under her.
Right, because
it's a civil service. We're getting off the topic, but it's a civil, and that's the station man. When I talked to him about publicity for my comedy show, I wanted to do, bring a comic in, have a comedy contest within the college, get kids interested, maybe they'll listen to the show. He does everything for publicity he doesn't want to do because listeners mean people will be listening.
Yeah, right.
If it's as if you went to MNN and they said to you, Paula, we want you to produce a show that nobody's going to want to watch.
Right.
Because if somebody watches it, somebody may complain.
Right.
And that's the attitude. And MNN, obviously you don't do it because I've gone on the website and seen some of the programming. And I'll be quite honest with you, a lot of it is kind of...
it's a dream come true for them.
True for cable access, which gets kind of boring after a while.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have that, professional veneer.
Right.
It's like on ABC, CBS, or NBC.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is nobody stops you on content.
Right.
I mean, unless you're doing something that's libelous or slanderous.
Joe, do I have your...
or something of that general nature.
Joe, do I have your permission to post this on the internet? Because I just recorded the last part. It's such an interesting discussion.
Yeah, you could.
I'm going to say Paula Gloria gets a phone call from Joe Cooper, and what do you think about these issues? Because I think it's...
as long as you don't mention the college.
I don't think the college, I didn't start recording until after you mentioned the college.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's fine.
Then you have my permission to do it.
Okay, great. Because I'm very curious about the viewers.
I'm just looking for a very simple answer.
Right.
The station manager have the right to do this.
Okay, so
that's basically it. And
so let's say Paula Gloria.
Like I said, if you're recording, I'm not here to fight windmills. It's just very disappointing that someone can say that if you're not informed enough by his standards, that you cannot have an opinion to be expressed on the air, on a publicly owned radio station.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I'm going to call it Paula Gloria and Joe Cooper Ask MNN, and then ... and then I'll explain whatever I feel hasn't been elaborated in this conversation.
Just don't mention the college.
No, it wasn't mentioned. Okay.
Yeah, so are you going on vacation with Molly?
Yeah, we're going to go to Dayton, Ohio, because she's doing a documentary on John H. Patterson.
Right.
Because we're... Yeah, we feel if he was alive today...
You're leaving on Monday?
No, Sunday, tomorrow.
Sunday? Oh, you're leaving tomorrow. I'm glad I got a hold of you then.
And actually, Nico Haupt is coming over. We're going to do something.
Well, that'll certainly make your last day in New York exciting.
Yes, right. But the thing is, his ex-wife is coming over. He's coming over at 12. His ex is coming over at 3, so he has to be out of here by then.
Oh, you're friendly with both of them?
Oh, yeah, I'm always friendly with everybody. When I was in Israel, I was friendly with the Alexander Technique people and the Feldenkrais people, and they hate each other.
Oh,
then
you were a good mediator.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But I mean, I always try to solve difficult problems, and I have a very bad back condition, so I always seek out the experts, and oftentimes they don't get along with each other, but I appreciate them for what they are. You know.
No. You and Nico should have an interesting conversation.
Well, it won't be a conversation.
When he meets in your living room,
No, it's not going to...
He actually sounds reasonable.
Yeah, that's because
like when he gets out in the public.
No, that's because his mother was here.
That's because, okay. I understand. He was being nice because Mommy was there.
Yeah, it was really great. He translated. I don't know if he translated correctly because I don't know German, but you know.
You never know. No. But it went well.
Well, we posted it, so if
everybody got out alive.
Yeah, right. So stand by. This should go up the same time Nico's show goes up.
Okay. And you have a good trip.
Okay, take care.
I'll talk to you when you get back.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
So there you go. I don't know how much of that got recorded. Oh, looks like it's still recording. What do you think, Promethea? Crazy life, huh? Crazy life. What's the best use of our time? Let's throw this baby up. When faced with such illogical logic, it is natural to question whether the formulation of the fundamental hypothesis of oncology possesses the requisites for a rational proposition, or if at least it corresponds descriptively to the truth. But there we are hit by a surprise. A tumor is constituted by different populations from the kinetic point of view, as the proliferating cells are often a minority. In solid tumors, instead, the exponential rate of growth takes place only during the initial phase of the life of the tumor. And that, again, he quotes the Italian authors of the Italian oncology textbook, Bonadonna, Rubistelli, page 72. The fundamental principle or hypothesis upon which all of oncology rests is therefore clearly false because, A, it is deprived of a rational truth since it does not rest on a non-contradictory principle. Hyperplasia, the abnormal growth of cells, is and is not admitted at the same time. 2, it is deprived of a sufficient reason because since all the facts or explanatory phenomenon are unknown, it does not exist for any factual reason. Aristotle says, on the other hand, it is just because we know that an object exists that we are looking for the reason why it is. It is instead difficult to understand an object when we do not know that it is. Schopenhauer comments, what's the use for explanations that ultimately lead to something which is as unknown as the original problem was? In conclusion, a non-existent fact is explained with unknown phenomenon, and furthermore, the base hypothesis of a genetic causality intended to explain neoplastic hyperproduction is reduced to a forced conclusion. That forced conclusion consists of the fact that the mechanisms proposed for the normal productive cellular activity of the body, in simple words, that which occurs every day, would, for unspecified causes, assume at a certain point a behavior which is contrary to that which generally occurs in the tissues. When considered through this distorted lens, then, the very same genes that normally have a positive role in cellular reproduction are defined as proto-oncogenic, and instead those that inhibit the reproduction are called suppressor genes or recessive genes. For example, the gene on which the thyroid hormone normally depends, a gene that is produced every day, at a certain point and without reason, and here is the mystery that supports all the research, becomes anomalous and has repercussions on the growth cycle. This is tantamount to hypothesizing that the mouth, an organ presupposed to consumption and the mastication of food, at a certain point of life and all of a sudden gets utilized to bite and chew
one's own hands. That's how much sense that makes. But if the processes of the disease are unknown, the base hypothesis of oncology has no verification in reality, since the presupposition of the hypothesis is a forced interpretation, thus an invention. In practice, if all levels of the system are falsified, then it is hard to understand why an idea which is totally bankrupt continues to be sustained. The mysterious and complex genetic factors, the monstrous reproductive ability of a pathological entity capable of deconstructing any tissue, the implicit ancestral tendency of the human organism to deviate in a self-destructive direction, and many other similar arguments seasoned with vast numbers of ifs and perhaps, combined in exponential ways, can no longer satisfy anybody, as they are only a lunatic's ravings. Carrie Mullins, the Nobel Prize scientist who discovered the PCR, a method of DNA amplification, in an interview by Celia Farber, published in the July 1994 issue of Spin, strongly criticized those in the scientific community who spread lies passing them as scientific data. And this is what he says, he's quoted here. I observe those people studying oncogenes and think, yes, I know what they are doing, the usual trash. Oncogenes have nothing to do with cancer. Why do scientists continue to promote such a baseless idea? What is driving scholars to continue to possess such a wacky theory? The only logical motive possible might be the force of habit. Kant says, where someone should be even silent and confess his ignorance, he considers as known what he knows because of frequent and familiar use. He imagines he sees and knows what his own apprehension and hopes push him to admit and believe. Now I'm going to take... And he ends with a story of, he goes, this reminds us of the story of the drunk who's looking for his keys. And he's looking around on the street and someone says, oh, what are you looking for? And he says, I'm looking for my keys. And where'd you lose them? Oh, I lost them on the other side of the street. They say, well, why aren't you looking on the other side of the street? And he says, because there's more light here. So, it is in this way that science works, comments Noam Chomsky. It looks where there is light, because it is the only thing that it can do. In this way, error can dominate for centuries and impose on entire populations its iron yoke, says Schopenhauer. So there you go. I know for me that certainly satisfied putting to rest the gene theory of cancer. In other words, my mom had it, my sister has it, we all get it. It's not satisfactory to really curing the problem. So, here we are on Irving Place, and what we're zooming in on is the home. That's where they live, the home of the Manhattan belly cats. These are belly cats. Are you a belly cat, Tara? A little belly kitty. Hey, Alan.
What's happening?
Do you want to come tomorrow to Jane's to do a treatment on her? 1 o'clock, and then hold the camera because we're going to do a promo for La Casa.
Oh, okay. How about 1 o'clock?
Okay, perfect. And then get me floating in the spa. We're going to talk about it with energized rocks, and then she's talking about getting a panel discussion for the expo.
When is that? What do you mean?
March.
What expo?
March.
What do you mean a panel discussion?
With Jay Gutierrez and,
How's she going to get a panel discussion going?
She knows the guy who does the expo. What's his name? I thought you would. Why didn't you call her?
Mark Becker, I know him very well.
Yeah.
What kind of panel does she want to put together?
She wants one with Jay and her, and I could be the moderator. But I'd love to have...
What's the theme of the panel?
Cancer.
What?
Cancer therapies.
Oh, a specific cancer panel, huh?
Yeah, I'd like to
Paula's
have...
going to be doing a float. So right now, we'd like everybody to shower first because there's natural oil on the skin, and that gets the water that she's going to be floating in oily. So everybody has to shower. Paula has been in the float room before, so she kind of knows the routine. So Paula is stepping into a chamber. I call it the float chamber. And it's about 8 inches of water filled with 800 pounds of Epsom salt. The effect of the Epsom salt is that it keeps you buoyant, so it's like the Dead Sea. Paula, do you have here, let me give you the headrest. And so this water is heated to the exact temperature of Paula's skin. And this is like being in the Dead Sea because it's so salty that she can't do anything except float. So it's an anti-gravity treatment. Gravity is the leading cause of disease. As we get older, everything starts to fall, including our organs, and then they start squishing in on each other. And when that happens, they can't get enough oxygen, they can't breathe properly, and then they press on each other, and sometimes you get nerves that get inflamed and various things like that. So we want to, we can't change gravity, we could go out of space, but short of that, what we can do is find ways of opposing gravity. So that's why the yogis always have people standing on their heads. And that's really a fabulous treatment for brain anemia. We use the slant board for that. We have a treatment that involves using the slant board so that you're reversing the flow of gravity. And so all of the fluids are being pulled to your head as opposed to standing up where everything is being pulled down. So this, in the buoyancy of this, it's anti-gravity. There's nothing that is pulling on her. And as such, she is going to, when I stop talking, she's going to enter the most profound state of relaxation that it's possible to be in. They say that the rejuvenative effect on the mind and the body from floating is equivalent to 5 hours of sleep. 1 hour floating is equivalent to 5 hours sleep. The Epsom salt is highly detoxifying. They say, and when I say they say, what I mean really is research. This is documented research, that 1 hour of floating because of the exposure of the 800 pounds of Epsom salt is equivalent to a 3-day fast. This is a very powerful treatment. Now, the other thing that it does is, I started to say before, the water is heated to the exact temperature of her skin. So what that means is that there's no nerve transmission from her skin to her brain, and that's yet another reason why she's going to be so relaxed. We call it entering a state of supra-consciousness. Brain waves are balanced. It's a very strong anti-aging treatment. It's a very strong detoxification treatment. It's very good for addictions. So I'm going to do one more thing to augment the effect of Paula's float. She looks like she's pretty good there, pretty relaxed. I'm going to add these stones. Paula is very familiar with these stones because we've done a lot of research and work with them. The stones are energized stones, and I'm holding a stone also. I'm going to give Paula this stone in a minute when I explain. These are different kinds of stones in the bag than what I'm holding. The stones in the bag emit a certain energy that has been documented in over 3,000 studies to increase longevity and improve health. Who mines them in Wyoming. Now, the beauty of this stone is not only does it have the specific energy of these gray stones that are in the plastic bag, and the energy, by the way, does go through plastic. This stone also is electric. It emits electrical energy.
And we are electrical beings. We are beings of electricity. And when our electricity starts to diminish, then our energy diminishes, because electricity is just a form of energy. And we become sick. So you can actually measure people's electrical fields, and it can be a kind of prognostic indicator for the state of their health and where they're going, even before symptoms have appeared. So I'm going to, and this stone specifically, it emits more energy as it's heated. And so since this water is heated, I'm going to hand it to Paula, and she's going to do whatever she wants with it. She might want to put it on her forehead. She might want to just hold it in her hand. She might want to put it on her abdomen, but put it in the water, Paula, so that it gets heated first.
Oh, okay.
You want it to be heated. And then I'm going to close the door, and then I'm going to turn the light off, and Paula's going to be in complete darkness. And what's beautiful about that is that when you cut out sensory stimulation, it becomes a very internal experience. I call it stillness moving, because you're still very conscious. Again, I call it supraconscious. You might fall asleep, which I do routinely. But if you want to use it as a kind of meditation, it's really the most amazing environment to create a meditative mind. So in having it in complete darkness, it eliminates one more sensory organ, which is sight. It's very quiet as soon as I stop jabbering. And in terms of the tactile sense, it's really quite amazing. We can interview Paula after she's had her float and see what she says. What I experience is that I lose the awareness of where my body begins and the water ends. I actually become one with the water. So it feels like a very kind of flowing experience. And by the way, this is really a fabulous experience for pregnant women, because they then are experiencing what their baby is experiencing, the baby inside their womb, which is a moist, salty, wet environment. Okay, so Paula, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. Okay. I'm going to close the door. You're getting lots of stone energy. Your brain hemispheres are going to be completely balanced, and you're going to come out feeling like $1 million. Great. Enjoy.